Hello and welcome to today's video on the HappyWorks channel, where we are going to be swapping this Torque Solutions engine mount for the FK8 Civic Type R with this guy, which is the PRL Motorsports made in the USA big old aluminum motor mount. And this one has a little bit lighter of a rubber. The durometer is a little bit softer, so the vibrations on the engine that come through to the driver are going to be a little bit less. This one, I had this in for a little bit. On first gear, second gear or so, you can feel it quite a bit. It shudders. The engine vibrations actually transfer all the way to the driver quite a bit. Just imagine like a kind of like a droney vibration in the cab. Sure, I understand. That's really cool for racing applications, and you know, I hear it helps eliminate wheel hop, but it's a little too much. This guy right here supposedly has little to no vibrations when you install it. That's what it says on their website for the product. And so we're going to be trying that. I believe it because it is a lighter durometer, and they are molded bushings front and rear on these, whereas these guys have inserts, and the inserts just don't isolate the vibrations as good as a vulcanized bushing. OEMs typically use vulcanized bushings, whereas aftermarket typically uses the press-in bushings, and those are just, they're cheaper to replace and to manufacture. So this guy should do real good. I'm excited to put this in, and here's how I got the old one out and the new one in. Now I already jacked the car up, so I'm gonna meet you underneath the car. In my case, I'm relatively lucky or unlucky, however you want to see it, but the previous owner did an interesting job of hacking this piece, the undershield, up. So there is no undershield right here, and actually where you can get to the motor mount, the bolt back here is already opened up. If you are doing this for the first time and somebody didn't already hack this apart for you, you're going to want to drop this part of the underbelly as well as the shielding underneath here. I believe it's a lot of little screws and pop pins. 19mm bolt right here that you can get to with a crescent wrench. The ratcheting ones, those are great for this kind of work, and you're actually not going to be removing the bolt all the way. All you're doing is loosening it because it's slotted, so this actually drops out. And on the back end here, it's a 17, and that one you can get to with a deep socket. Don't go too far because it's going to be hard to get your wrench out. That is probably where you want to start using the open-ended side of your wrench. There's actually a small cutout right here just for your bolt to go in, so you can actually see exactly how much space there is. All you want to do is clear it of this welded on nut right here, and that should be enough. Kind of see how it just shifted right there? That's how you know it's loose. The next thing, you can go ahead and grab yourself a pry bar or something. Screwdriver might work, but basically just wedge it in here and pull down. That's going to break this piece free. You can put that bolt back in, and that'll just kind of help it from wanting to go back up in there. Put it all the way through so you don't damage the front of the threads. Okay, what I'm doing now was actually not at all planned, but I'm undoing the 3 mounting flange nuts that connect the downpipe to the front pipe, and pull it off of the studs. We undo the motor mount that is back here. For that, I can move this a little bit, and this bolt will be a little bit easier to pull out. One thing you guys definitely want to get is one of these exhaust pullers right here. It's basically just a set of pliers that attaches to the end of the stud that the hanger is on, and then pushes the exhaust hanger from the other side. I'm really hoping I can show you this. I think you might even get away without undoing the 3 bolts on the front pipe, but the main one that has to get undone is this exhaust hanger right here, because what happens is once this is off, you can actually lift the pipe, push right here. It'll push the pipe up far enough. Once this is up, you can get the pry bar in here and pull down on this, and it's actually enough to slide this bolt out. I finally ended up getting it. I believe the stock mount comes out a lot easier than this, but essentially what happened is it sits in there like this, and as you wedge it down, it obviously gets tighter in the back because it's an opposite, it's a 90-degree, shift for that bushing. So as you pull it down, it gets tighter. So you want to keep it kind of just up as far as possible, but you also want to mind the little section right here because it gets thinner, and so as this moves forward, it wants to catch on this. Find some way to hit this piece right here forward so that it comes just as forward as possible, and the way I ended up getting it is by hitting it with a rubber mallet and having something up against this, and just kind of shimmying it this way further and further, and then about when it gets right here is when it falls out. I sprayed a lot of WD-40 in kind of like that area where this bushing is sitting. We're gonna put the other one in, and hopefully that goes a little bit simpler. The install and or deinstallation of this one should be a lot easier than the Torque Solutions one, because the Torque Solutions has a flat wall on both sides, and this is basically sandwiched by the sheet metal of the vehicle, whereas this guy right here actually is beveled, so it will allow for you to kind of twist it just a little bit more and have a little more play, and it's not going to get so bound up on that surface that it's sitting on. Also, just as a comparison, and I know this doesn't make a huge difference, but this mount is a lot beefier than the Torque Solutions one. It has a lot thicker aluminum. Well, not thicker, but the entire construction is a lot thicker. Overall, I think the quality of the PRL mount far exceeds the Torque Solutions. It's a night and day difference. Here's to hoping that the engine mount slides right in. All right, and now I've read when you get to this point right here, it's usually easiest just to use a rubber mallet to kind of knock it in. I'm gonna say this was a lot easier than how the Torque Solutions one came out. And I would say this is something you should consider when you buy these. Because of the design of the bushing back here, this thing slides right in like butter. It took 1 or 2 hits with the rubber mallet. Okay, the further testament now is gonna be if I can one-handedly mount the Sure Can. That is beautiful. There we go. There we go. But essentially, I pulled down with a pry bar on this part. You probably can do this by putting this bolt in first and having it halfway in, and then putting this one in, but I did. Pushing it in and hooking that rear bolt up actually perfectly positioned this hole. So all I had to do was get a wrench on this and start turning, and it's actually going right into the snug. And then you've got yourself a successful install. Okay, here's the PRL mount all mounted up. It went in super easy. I have no worries about ever needing to take this back out because, well, A, I don't think I'm gonna need to, but B, this thing is built so well, and with these bushings being tapered here at the end, this thing comes in and out very easily. And I will say it did help to have a jack with a 2x4 underneath here, just kind of supporting this a little bit. Pushing it up gives you about a 1/4 inch or so of just better of an angle to get this piece out. Once you've put this in, don't forget to hook back up your hanger over here, and then your 3 bolts that you may or may not have undone up here. So next thing, I'll give you guys a short little review. I'm gonna go for a test drive, and we'll see how this thing performs and if it eliminated some of that vibration that I was experiencing with the Torque Solution. Here's a little quick garage tip. If you've got a mover's blanket, you can buy these at Harbor Freight for like $9. The beauty is you can throw it down on the ground, so that means you're not getting super dirty. And then when you're done, and if you've placed all of your tools on it, all you need to do is grab it and pull it out from underneath the car, and look, there's all your tools, easy to get to. You can grab them and put them back in your box, and that way you're not sliding underneath the car 10 times to grab all your tools. All right, here's a really quick recap before my camera dies, and I'm gonna finish out the video. I think the PRL Motorsports mount is the perfect in between a race mount and a stock mount. I think the any kind of heavier bushings or polyurethane bushings or anything really with a press-in bushing that is a higher durometer is very uncomfortable to drive in. That's just my honest opinion, and obviously you're watching YouTube videos, so you're not gonna feel it yourself, but you're gonna take my word for it, hopefully. The PRL Motorsport mount takes out any kind of vibrations that you feel on, you know, slipping the clutch, starting in first gear. The stock mount, you're pretty much not going to feel any. You're going to feel the shudder a little bit, and then with something like the Torque Solutions mount, you are going to feel a lot of vibration, and it's going to be very loud and it's going to be buzzy in the car. The PRL mount takes all of that out. You still feel a little bit more connected. The engine doesn't move around a lot under load, and obviously as you're accelerating, especially if you're getting on it, you feel a lot more connected to the car. Is it a little bit louder than stock? Is it a little bit more vibrations than stock? Absolutely. If you don't want to introduce any or well, even less, I would probably recommend the spoon mount. I know that one is like an upgraded OEM version. I picked the PRL Motorsports mount because it's a beautiful piece. The quality's amazing. The craftsmanship is amazing. It's a beautiful CNC machine piece. Has the vulcanized bushings, which personally, I probably wouldn't consider another mount without vulcanized bushing, especially not polyurethane. It breaks down under chemicals, and typically people don't have the best things to say about polyurethane all the time because, well, they're just not very resistant to chemicals. They break down, and that's not great. But vibrations that I was feeling with the Torque Solutions mount are completely gone. I'm excited to drive this around. I'm excited to take it on longer trips. I'm not afraid to be in traffic and feel the vibrations as I'm stopping and going. And so I highly recommend it. I think you should pick one up. If you're looking to upgrade your motor mount, I wouldn't probably go much stiffer than that unless you're doing really just a race application. But otherwise, I would say get the PRL one, install it, have a great time, drive it, enjoy it. That's it for this video. I consider liking, subscribing, or posting on the video. Let me know if there's anything that you want me to install on the car that you think would be fun, and I will consider it. So see you next time. Thank you so much for watching.